Hey there, Karen here with my buddy Whiskey Tower. Hope you guys are doing really well. I wrote a blog today called Are Your Emotions Making You Inactive? This has happened to me a lot over the years. You may remember me mentioning our friend Anja, who owns that beautiful border collie named Panda. Do you remember me telling you the story about how she got involved with the rescue of 2 other border collies, and I felt that she was able to connect because her border collie, her being a border collie owner, kind of would spark the emotions of other people. It did for me. I was like, oh, I have such a relationship with Panda. Oh, I want to help these other border collies. So it was kind of a cool thing that had happened. Well, she, along with many of these other people, helped to save these dogs from being euthanized pretty much on the day that they were going to be destroyed. So it was a pretty cool thing. But Anne just shared with me how hard it was being a border collie owner. It's so easy for the emotions to take over, and she cried about the situation and stuff as well. And it's, that's compassionate people do this. But what happened recently here is one of our friends on Facebook, Missy Swinderman, some of you guys might know her, she's the owner of 2 cats, Ape and Monkey, and they need homes by the end of this month. I know these kitties because I've sent them a CD. It's kind of bizarre how it kind of all happened, where I saw the picture of Panda the Border Collie with the CD, and then there's one of Ape, who's this kitty who looks a lot like my filthy cat. It's just funny how both these animals that have had signed CDs from me needed my help with some other animal things. So now these gorgeous kitty sisters, Ape and Monkey, and one looks like Filthy. I also remember Teresa Clayton, who's a friend to most of us, just a wonderful lady. She has a cat named Romeo, who looks a lot like Ape too. So it's funny how, like, the little spirit of Filthy, I'm just kind of seeing him everywhere, this calico and white kitties. So needless to say, I can get pretty emotionally wrapped up in the welfare of these pets that I have come to know. If Teresa was to call me today and said, Romeo needs a home, I can't imagine that situation ever happening. It's like Romeo's so attached to her. But if that happened, I would feel really emotionally attached, because it's like I see the little spirit of Filthy in all these kitties, And so anyway, Missy had told me that Ape and Monkey are really good girls, and they need a home due to losing theirs. So this is a much sadder situation on a bigger picture, where we got the cats need a home, but then the owners are losing their home as well. So it's a very sad situation all the way around. And this is a reality in America, especially when people are overwhelmed at losing their own homes. And the unfortunate, sad reality is that when you're trying to survive yourself and you're losing everything, pets have to go to new homes. It's just sad. It's just a reality. And, we can get really wrapped up in that sadness, but this is just the reality. It's extremely gut-wrenching for any of us who have a heavy heart for people and animals. And having a heavy and compassionate heart has been a burden for me. Over the years, it's been really, really bad, and it's a heavy burden for a lot of sympathetic people. If you're one of these animal lovers, or just people lovers, or just a sympathetic, compassionate heart, you understand that burden that just kind of sits in the middle of your chest, and it really does become a burden. But the problem is that while our emotions are indicative of our level of compassion, they can be a burden and a hurdle, and they can get in our way of what we need to do. So over the years, my emotions have caused me to lose a lot of sleep. And most people don't lie in bed and think about solutions to the problems. We tend to stew over them. We just think about how sad they are, constantly thinking about how sad these situations are. And it's extraordinarily sad to think that someone is losing their home and that the animals need homes. But I have found in situations like this that my emotions will stand in my way. And this is what I really want to cover in today's blog. I've learned that the quote, "Action is the antidote to despair." That thing is like, it's just been a mantra for me. Like every single day, if I find that my emotions are overwhelming me too much, I set a course for action, and it really helps a lot. I don't dismiss my emotions, but I just channel them. And when our minds wander in hundreds of directions, we feel both overwhelmed by emotion and we're tired because of it. So nothing got done. Then we just render ourselves completely useless in finding a solution for it. So when I feel my mind start to wander too much, I go back to my list. I go back to the tasks that are in front of me. I have managed to make my sleep sacred. This is something that, for any of you guys who have been in our community for a long time now, know how much I preach on how sleep should be sacred. That you should make a list before you go to bed, leave it out in the living room, go to bed, get your sleep, and then wake up and tackle your list. That's helped me a lot. And I've managed to make game plans and all sorts of things that way, and leave my list completely away from the bedroom. So if I am faced with these dilemmas, I look for viable solutions. Now, I do this now rather than allowing my shaky emotions to make decisions. That doesn't work so good. Now, compassion is not a bad thing, and having these emotions is not a bad thing. I am very unwilling to give up my level of compassion that I have for people, for animals, all these things. It can initiate a lot of good, and it can cause people to move towards action. When you have a compassionate heart and you actually care, it can instigate action, so that's good. Overwhelming sadness, however, doesn't really accomplish a lot except for debilitating us. And many people are going through this because of lost jobs, lost homes, lost pets, and many other things that they have to surrender and give up. And we can throw ourselves into a tailspin when we're ranting about who did this to us, and the country, and the politicians, and the economy, and all these things you hear that just aren't helpful. You can rant all you want, feel really bad about it, but they're just not helpful. And we can take matters into our own hands, and we can figure out the solutions to the problem. But I believe we can't wait for someone to come knocking at our door and offer a job, offer money, offer homes for our pets. I'm not suggesting people aren't doing enough. I think, on the contrary, people are overwhelmed. I'm only saying that sadness, while it's very real, doesn't pay the bills. It just doesn't get these problems fixed. So, of course, these are very sad things. Very, very sad. If you feel compassion or sadness, bless your heart. There's not enough people out there who feel, just have those emotions. A lot of very cold people out there. That's a good thing. You are alive. But those emotions should only be, I believe, the key in our ignition to get things set in the right place. They don't provide the gas for the car, and they don't provide money for those car repairs. They just don't. So I'm personally learning to be more decisive now. I'm learning to be more proactive about these things. The two things that I don't allow to drive my car is anger, any kind of anger outburst, or tears. Those have ignited my car in the past when I put it in the ignition. But I don't allow those things to drive my vehicle. I can get those emotions out quickly if needed, but they don't hold the power to really make any change happen. Anger is not making this country go through change. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just, it doesn't do anything. I really believe that action is the way that we can make things change and make things happen. But I think it's got to be focused action. You can't just blame a whole thing on a whole country or politics or religion or all these things I've talked about before. It's just be very decisive about the problem that's in front of you, and go for some kind of real action that doesn't have all these angry or even sad, or and don't celebrate early either. All those things. Just get rid of all those emotions and just act, instead of react. So I think this has just worked for me. I'm just saying, not to start a war here, but I have compassion for people. Indeed I do. But I have a very soft spot for children and animals. Hearing any of these stories can rip my heart out of my chest if I allow them to. Now, I just resolved to do what I can, and I don't own anyone's problems anymore. However, I don't get angry with these pet owners. I could just go into the whole, why don't they just keep them? What's the problem? You can go into this and then talk about the country's problems and the country's at fault and everything's at fault and the economy's at fault and everything. But the reality is we have a situation in front of us where we have 2 cats who need a home. That's the situation. That's where I was asked to help. I wasn't asked to fix all of their problems. I was specifically asked to help with that specific thing. So I try not to get angry at a situation that I don't even understand. And you know what? It might not be anyone's fault that specifically that things got out of control. And trying to find the fault and who's to blame isn't going to help these two cats that need a home right now. So specifically, I'm just trying to be solution oriented for the thing that I'm called to help with. I also find that omitting this emotion makes room for action. If you're not super ecstatically happy and celebrating too early about something, if you're not overwhelmingly sad, and if you're not angry and not having angry outbursts, when you get rid of those things, you have all this room for action. There's just a whole bunch of room that you can now do things. And then I find helping is pretty easy then. I don't find it a burden. I don't find it overwhelming because I'm not attaching all these extraneous emotions to it. It's just action. That's it. So I can be more helpful to more people if I detach this emotion a bit and just insert action. It's pretty simple. I never realized how many years I wasted from just simply being too sad about everything. Just way too sad. Can't do anything because I'm just way too sad. Sorry, can't help you today. I'm too sad. You know. Now, I don't find being helpful as much of a burden. I just don't. I signed off today. Funny how I am seeing filthy spirit everywhere. Wondering if he's the guy behind the curtain. Just a quick update. For the rest of you guys will be bored out of your minds listening to this because you've heard the story. Filthy was a stray cat who came to my apartment, was not allowed to be here, and he would make his way up, and he visited for 3 years, and I took care of him as best as I could in that time, and then he passed away. But he helped me so much get through some really rough points that I had, and it's just funny how he's been dead for a year and a half now. Died last June, and I'm still seeing him everywhere, you know. So he's making an impact, little bugger, still. So anyway, I also want to share a Norman Cousins quote with you. The individual is capable of both great compassion and great indifference. He has it within his means to nourish the former, the compassion, and outgrow the latter, indifference. He's saying we have the means to do that. We have the means to nourish some things and outgrow other things. We actually have the means to do that. We're equipped. We are equipped. So I will leave that with you guys today. I hope that your emotions are not making you inactive. And if you are feeling really emotional about something, can that just be the ignition, that key to get things going, and just use it in a positive way that way. So anyway, I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. And from Whiskey Sour and me, until next time, rock on.